Welcome to another interview on the fear of dying. And here's a quote I love. Although we have the potential to experience the freedom of a butterfly, we mysteriously prefer the small and fearful cocoon of ego. Well, I want you to meet today someone who has flown her cocoon, and she is quite a butterfly. She's been around. I'd like to introduce you to my guest today. Her name is Shera Sever, founder, director of Igniting the Spark. Shera has been consulting with and coaching visionary leaders and teams for nearly 20 years on cultural alignment, strategy, engagement, and social learning technologies. Now, here are some of her many accomplishments. And when I say many, these she tried to narrow it down as much as possible, but I'm afraid we're going to be taking up some time here because she's quite accomplished. She has been doing so much. She organized a leadership consultant to Silicon Valley companies on diversity, inclusion, and engagement practices. She planned one of the first international user conferences for Oracle. She developed entrepreneurship programs helping over 70 immigrant women develop successful businesses for CEO women. She was instrumental in developing an international publishing division for McGraw-Hill Publishers. She designed and taught communications at UC Berkeley and San Francisco State. She was the managing editor for the Sustainable World Sourcebook. She has traveled across the Amazon River as a solo traveler and explored the coasts of Mexico, Spain, and Portugal by motorcycle. In this era of COVID, Shera is committed to contributing to regenerative community models that promote inclusivity and accessibility. Why did you put all these big words in here, Shera?
Because it's what I stand for. I'm listening to that. It's like it's hard to brand something like that. There's, I refuse to be niched.
Got it. Can I say the one last thing that you did?
Oh, yes, of course.
Okay. So Shera has just completed her master's degree in leadership, online learning at California State University. Well, thank you, Shera, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Yamini.
Yeah, I'm
looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, and it is quite a conversation, is it not? At this time, I find that a lot of people are shying away from this. So that's kind of why I took it on, and people like you are going to help me through this. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So here's the first one. How has this pandemic impacted you around the subject of death?
So it's been in stages. So when the news of the pandemic first appeared, early part of 2020, I paid attention to the information. And then when it hit the US, I wasn't afraid of death or dying, but I found myself going through very intense practices to prevent getting sick. I remember early on, we almost were supposed to wear a hazmat suit when we went in to buy groceries and sprayed the bottom of our shoes. I didn't find myself having a fear of death, but just taking these extra precautions to not get sick.
And what were some of those precautions?
Well, just what they were suggesting that we do. You go out, like I said, almost in a hazmat suit, and just to buy groceries and gloves and masks and spray your shoes and spray your food and your packages and your door handles and your car and just all this. It felt manic, actually. And after about 3 weeks of that and just doing more research, I just found myself starting to do what felt right for me internally. Just really accessed more inner wisdom. And I think what else really happened for me was, and it's not necessarily related to death, but it was this need that emerged, or a calling that emerged, that it's really time to step up full out in my purpose. And take responsibility, make contributions in my immediate community, wherever I'm at, facilitate conversations like this about death, about fear,
Right.
about media. And so I guess that was my approach. But I did not find myself having a fear of death.
Same here. Same
Yeah.
thing. I mean, COVID-19 doesn't even exist for me for some reason, you know. I just look at it and I'm, you know, full of wonder how, you know, how this has affected so many people on so many levels. So I wanted to know also, what is your experience personally with death? Have you had any close
Well,
friends?
I mean, personally, like me having near-death experiences or losing people in my life.
Maybe losing people in your life?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, I was very sick as a little girl, very, like hospitalized with unknown, virus. So I remember missing out on a lot of activities when I was young because of illness and, some delusional experiences, but very, so young at that time. But my experience with, I've lost many, many friends.
Mm.
I was just having this conversation just in the last, for sure, 10 years. I, I have over, I mean, I have a list that I made, and it's over 40 people that were close to me that have passed over, and the majority of them to cancer. Um, I've lost family members, like 3 to 4 family members that were very close, like immediate family members, all within maybe a year period of time. That was back in like '05, '06
Mm.
era. So I have a, a perspective, an approach to death that I'm sure I'll be able to share during this interview as a result of so much loss. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot of loss. It's a lot of death.
Yes, I should say. I've never had that experience. I mean, I
Yeah,
can't say
you
never, but
know, my core peeps from just a number of different tribes in and parts of different, like you read that list of accomplishments, different parts of those eras.
yeah.
Uh, the people that I was with, many of those people are not around.
So you said that you had a certain perspective now based on those experiences.
Losing my grandma was the most significant because she was the person that I was closest to, and her name is Stella Angelina, which is Star Angel, and she indeed is and was a star angel. Um, but what I learned about, or the conclusion I came to about death is that death is really here to teach us about love, and it's the person who has passed over or crossed over is absolutely free. They have returned to original form, to spirit. And those of us that remain here in this body temple form that we chose to be in for a very, very short visit actually have an opportunity to learn some very deep lessons about love, about life, about ourselves, about our interconnectedness with others, about the commonalities of the hearts of humanity. And death is a great, great teacher for those of us that remain. I think it's one of the deepest contemplative practices available to us.
Oh, that's really beautiful, Shera. You know, I'm glad that I asked you that question. Thank you. So I was wondering, do you have any regrets if you were told that you were diagnosed with something that's going to take you out of this existence in a week or a month or whatever? Do you have any regrets in your life that you would like to manage at this point?
Yeah, I love that question. I read that you had sent that earlier, and I thought about that, and it's like, well, I still have time because I haven't received that notice yet. I think a sadness. I don't know if I would call it a regret, but it's a sadness.
Yeah.
Is not saying yes enough.
Mm.
That would be. even though I've done a lot of things and I've taken tremendous amount of risks and I've said yes to a lot of things, certain opportunities or situations that were presented to me that I didn't say yes to. And it was, it was really out of fear. Um, and I think the other sadness that I'm definitely have worked with and am continuing to work on, um, self-compassion.
Mm.
So kindness toward oneself.
Ah, that is major. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my whole thing has been a self-love. My whole purpose has been to discover myself and to finally love and accept myself completely. So I really get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so beautiful. And
If I could, I think that's actually a good way to prepare for death too, is just, to that complete acceptance, um, of oneself.
yeah, right. Well, I mean, that's where we're the center of the universe, right? We've got to do that. And I'm thinking that, because you have done so much in your life, someone who hasn't done as much of you as you have might look at themselves and say, well, I only have one or two regrets. But because you've been so free, you just pick on one or two things that you weren't so free about. And whereas somebody else, I haven't worded this right,
That's
but
okay.
are you getting what I'm saying? And it's because you've been so free and so uh, taking risks all your life that the one or two times when you didn't, it just really stands out for you, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe five. There's five actually, but I think the wisdom from all of it is, something that we've heard of, and it's simply to choose wisely.
Mm, yeah. And sometimes what does that mean?
Well, for me, it's what's in alignment with my values. Number
Right.
one,
Yeah.
um, just leave it at that.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. So do you have a bucket list?
Um, yes, I have. There's one thing. There's one. There's really
What?
just one. Well, maybe three, but one.
Uh-huh.
I haven't been married yet,
What? Really?
so that's on my bucket list.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
to
And
meet
why do
my
you want to
divine
why do
love
you want to
partner.
be married?
What's that?
What is it about marriage that
Yeah, thank you. I think, and it doesn't necessarily have to be marriage, but I want to experience that sacred ceremony
yeah.
and be part of the ritual. And for me, that kind of that divine sacred union is the one path to the divine that I have not yet walked. And it's the path to the divine that I can only walk with another in that divine sacred union. When you have that day-to-day reflection, that really we can never fully see ourselves,
I see.
I don't think, without having the reflection of other or others. So that's on my bucket list.
Okay, got
Yeah,
it.
definitely on my bucket list, and I'm so glad I got to broadcast that. So
There you go. Did you hear that, folks?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I look at this wonderful woman. I mean, my God, it's fantastic what you've done with your life. I think you deserve to have your bucket list
Yeah, I
approved.
do too.
Okay.
And then I think the other thing on my bucket list, I would love to, be a steward of land. I'm hesitant to say own land, because I'm questioning that model and where it's led us as a species. But to be a steward of land, and to do that with a community of land stewards. What does that mean? To bring the sacred back into the land, obviously to grow food, um, with the land, but to honor the land
Right.
as life givers.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly. And to cultivate it so that there's no toxins. Um,
all of that. Yeah,
right. Right.
absolutely.
Right. So I'm so into that myself. And coming up here among all these beautiful trees has really been such a blessing. For me to connect every day with nature. It just does something, it uplifts my soul, to another vibration. And so I think that's what we're all, and wouldn't it be wonderful if we had a community that could do that? Is that what you're kind of looking at?
Just taking responsibility for the land is
Okay.
really important. Soil regeneration. I mean, some really basic things, and they're happening in many different pockets of the world.
Yeah.
But I'm finding that essential. So that's on bucket list. I used to have a long travel bucket list, and yeah, there's a few more places I would definitely love to visit.
Yeah.
And right now, it's having a travel bucket list is probably not the most practical given the state of the
Well, I
world.
think you've pretty well covered that whole thing.
I've done quite a bit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So tell me, do you believe in reincarnation? Which I think
Yes, I
you do.
was I was hoping you were going to ask me just what my philosophy is on all of that. So I've shared that first of all, that I see death as a great teacher, and it's a teacher of love. It's a death is something that can allow our hearts to break open, and when our hearts break open, that's when love and healing and grace can enter. So uh, I've had that experience multiple times. So do I believe in reincarnation? I have been on a Buddhist path for 36 years with a almost daily practice, and in that cosmology, and prior to choosing that particular path, I'd studied many other um, philosophies and religions, both Western and Eastern. And so I do believe that we are a soul, we have soul, and our soul returns home when it leaves the body,
Right.
and that our soul chooses when it's time to come and be of service or to come and learn
Yeah.
lessons,
Right.
that it returns to a womb. It returns in the act of sacred intercourse here on earth, and we make that choice where we want to be, what lessons we want to learn, or what contributions. So yes, I do believe in reincarnation, if we want to call it that. I'm still questioning, we don't always have to return to this form on earth, and we don't have to return to this earth
Right.
plane.
Right.
There's many places that we can choose to go, and I have been to some of those places in other forms
Oh,
as
that's
well.
interesting. Can you describe one of your
I've had them
lives?
described to me, and again, I don't feel like a scholar in this or an expert in this arena, but it's just an inner knowing that I've also had experiences um, in other places other than planet Earth.
Mm,
So it is in other stars, we can say for
okay.
sure.
You're a star child.
I'm very much a star child,
All right.
and star seed.
Yeah.
And I've had some experience with some of my past lives. I've
Hmm.
uh, done work where we do past life regression.
Right.
Um, so I've 3 or 4 or 5 uh, lives I do know. Astrology is actually a tremendous tool in understanding past lives
Mhm.
and learning about even more recent incarnations. So long answer, yes, that is my belief
Mhm.
that the soul is ever ev- evolving, hopefully,
Yeah.
but certainly transforming.
Right.
And that this is just a short little visit in body temple that we chose to condense in a tremendous amount of energy into this body temple, primarily so we can have these physical experiences, pleasures,
Right.
sensations,
Yeah.
and that we don't experience in spirit form.
I'm wondering because I've been on the other side, and it was quite exquisite. It was really beautiful. I wasn't aware of having a body, but a lot of times I'm not aware of my own body. I'm just looking out of my, from my eyes out there, and and being impacted by what I see. So I don't know, you know, from what I hear, there is some physical form. There is some
Okay.
physical experiences. So anyway, but that's
I
great.
haven't had that experience yet.
Okay.
It's not on my bucket list.
Okay. No. Well, to ease your mind a little bit, I didn't have to die to have that experience.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I had no pain involved. It was just a spontaneous being out of my body and taking a little trip. So yeah, it was really amazing. So that was during a time when I was really deeply into metaphysical, experiences. And I don't think I could do that again, but it doesn't even matter because it was like a gift, for that time to let me know I'm not my body. And I'm much more than that. So, what is your passion in life, Shera? Your main
Ah,
passion?
it's been always similar. But right, I would say that I really love connecting and being connected with the hearts of humanity. So finding our commonalities and just sharing in that experience, that's really my passion.
Yeah.
So yeah, whatever that, if it's as creating events, a lot of it is about around creating events or experiences that allow for others to just drop into safety and vulnerability and connection and sharing. That is my passion.
Oh, that's beautiful. Do you see yourself maybe creating more events in the future?
I'm working on it. Yeah,
Are you?
absolutely.
Oh,
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I had a festival of goddesses back in Laguna Beach for 3 years. And then and that was just 3 years. And I just broke even on the third one. And then I gave up. I said, I can't do this anymore. It's so exhausting. And then I look at Deborah Giusti, who's done it for 30 years. And
Hmm.
she had like thousands of people, show up at her harmony festivals.
Right.
And
I'm focused a little bit more on smaller events. So, or smaller experiences is actually what I like to call them. Um, so small, like 20, maybe 30 people max. So you really can drop into a field. It's a field.
yes.
And it's a field of resonance. It's a field of emergence. It's a field where essence can be safely and authentically shared and expressed. And I think it's from that emergence that's where we find creativity, answers, solutions to the world
Yeah.
that we are now part of or that we're moving into. I mean, we need new solutions
Yeah.
and new approaches and new strategies. And
New teachers.
so so I'm actually part of an international group right now. It's called the Art of Participatory Leadership. And I'm one of two Americans that were chosen to be part of this group. And it's a
Oh,
very deep process of facilitating just what I've described. So that is my passion. Um, yeah, and there's fun involved. There's food. I mean, it's living as we used to live as a species. We come together as human beings and we share in the basic rituals of food and conversation and caring.
right. And
Yeah,
we're all teachers to each other.
very
And
much so. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because I was thinking the only way I learned art, the best way to learn art is to go to art classes. And then you really get, so much inspiration from other people's work and other people's ideas. And I think it's a constant interconnection with people that really helps us to grow and to realize ourselves, realize our own potential.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. So is there anything left that you would like to say to people about this fear that has grabbed us in
Yeah,
this
there's two
time
things.
period?
Because one was you wanted me to share like how I envisioned my death, or what would I like to.
Mm,
I definitely would like some of these loved ones around. It would be really really wonderful
yes.
to be held and embraced by whoever is in my life at the time. I would like that, and with no masks on. Masks.
Oh, please, yes. You know,
Just had that conversation with somebody actually.
yeah.
Um,
And then you
so
were going to say what you would like to point out to the
yeah,
people
and
who are
so
watching it today.
so final words about fear of death. I would just, my inquiry would be, what's under that? Like, what are you really afraid of? Are you afraid of letting go of patterns, of habits? Is there a challenge surrendering? Um, can you allow yourself to have an experience of just of oneness uh, in a meditation practice, or in nature, or in a medicine journey? I think those kinds of experiences chisel away. Fear is a calcification. An accumulation of beliefs that don't serve our fullness, our magnificence.
Right.
So I would ask, what is under the fear?
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Well, this has been very enlightening talking to you. And I knew that I knew it would be an amazing interview, just from
Yeah.
what I know of you and what I've experienced of you so far. So, Shera, would you please tell us how we can find you? Do you have a website?
Yeah, absolutely. The URL is cherylsever.com. If you just Google Igniting the Spark Shera Sever, you will find me.
Please.
And my email is Shera, Shera Sever @gmail.com. And when you go on my website, you'll see some of the things I'm up to and offering. There's a model for developing a community resiliency group in your area. I have a program called the 4 Pillars of Leadership. And lastly, I'm doing a 21-day mastermind group for visionary leaders and change makers. And we just completed one, and the next group will start September 1st.
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Well,
Yamini.
happy travelings.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.